You're listening to the Business Wealth Impact Podcast, your source for empowering information and cutting-edge ideas from the world's top minds. I'm your host, Jeanne Amlour, founder of seven-figure coaching company, Jeanne Amlour International. Join me on a journey to unleash your potential and create your highest success. Welcome to Business Wealth Impact. Hello and welcome to Business Wealth Impact. We have a fantastic guest. Today we have Rob Matzkin. Rob's the CEO of Rob Matzkin Group, BondSummit, and he's a managing partner at Singularity Ventures. He's also a serial entrepreneur with multiple exits, and he's also an investor. Welcome, Rob.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate you having me on as a guest.
Oh, not at all. Okay, so we're going to dig deep into your subject, which is how to lead teams remotely with AI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, love to tell you more about that. One of the things that I've been realizing over the last coming weeks, coming months, or the past few months is I think leadership really needs to change. Everybody's after COVID wanted people get back to work. Everybody loved being remote, and now work's changing. AI with agentic and agents, it's going to be very different. Our outputs as employees aren't going to be really doing work. It's going to be leading, right? It's going to be delegation and managing these agentic agents. So as that changes, what I've been discussing with my clients and just people on is what does that look like? What type of leadership do we need to have, right? So, and what really brought me to this was I've had many conversations over the last few years. It started years ago during COVID when somebody that I was speaking to, she had a really powerful spreadsheet and she was in financial analyst. She was a financial analyst, and what they thought was taking her 12 hours a day was taking her 45 minutes and plugging it into her macros. And now it's turned into many people just using agents of their own and taking their 9 hours of work a day and doing it in an hour. And it's changing their life. But the problem is both these individuals that I'm referring to really were in big corporations, right? So now all of a sudden they're manipulating their employer because their employer is paying them for time for money. So if they want their paycheck and the value that they're delivering, they have to manipulate. But in the next, as I'm sure you've been speaking to, and I think as the world's been speaking about what happens when agents start really coming into play in white collar, which is anywhere from 3 to 12, 24 months away, right? Or now really. And what does work look like? So what I've realized is really simply and this is what the ethos is saying, is it's not about really counting people's hours, because that doesn't work remote anyway. It doesn't lead to employee performance. It's just, it's a very adversarial relationship that was built upon a assembly line, right? I mean, it's from 1912 and Ford's assembly line, assembling Model Ts. So how do we evolve from that, or whether it's the 1950s? And what I see coming is we need to lead through output. We need to lead through really measuring people's performance and the results that they bring. That's what's going to matter.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, let's roll that back a bit.
Sure.
Okay, what you just said. So the implications of this ethically also are vast. I was thinking when you said that, I thought, whoa, there's so much to unpack there.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is some people that are intelligent enough to have already figured out AI and automation way before are being paid per hour. It's not for their performance. It's not for the results. They're being paid per hour, and they figured out how to get their 8 hours of work a day, let's say, into, say, an hour. Because they're being paid per hour, that's not actually terribly ethical, because that's the first thing. The second thing is, if they were honest with the employer, they would say, hey, guess what? I figured out how to do all this work in an hour. And then they would say, great, so do another 8 hours of that and work your 9 hours and be 8 times more productive.
Right. Which also isn't ethical on the employer's perspective, from employee or employer's perspective, right?
So there's some problem going here. I get it. What's the solution? Let's just not talk about, let's talk about the solution. With employers, if that's also, is there some sort of, I don't know, compromise where they're not pay, well, unless they just agree to change the contract that we're paying you for results now. And if you get it done in an hour, fine. Or what's the solution there,
Yeah. So
Rob?
yeah, I could see you permeating through all the different things. And the reason I bring it up and talk about it and it's so fascinating is that we need to actually get rid of or press delete on their old ways of compensating and leading because it won't work, right? There's some altruistic business owners, like there's a classic story of a low performing carpenter and a high performing or a tradesperson, right? And they come in and a low performer would get paid by the hour and they do the job in 8 hours. You get somebody who's great, he can do it in 2.5 hours. And then the general contract would be like, great, keep working for another 2.5 the rest of the day. And he's like, but good leaders or different leaders would be like, you got the job done. See you later. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Mm,
Right. But
mm,
what I'm really alluding to is we need to say, hey, what results do we need and what do we act? And it also takes a lot more effort because we need to look at as a leader, what results do we need to produce?
mm,
In marketing, I don't know if you've heard of there's two methods of like creating a persona, right? There's a classic, hey, this is John, he's 42, he lives in Des Moines, Iowa, and he likes cats or whatever. Or there's a job to be done method, which is very much, hey, you have some great artwork there. How are we going to hang that artwork? There's many ways of hanging that artwork. If we have a hammer, we're just going to look to nail it. But we could do it with screws, we could do it, glue it, we could do whatever we want. But there's a job to be done. What do you care about? You care that it's done properly and that you can take it off the wall easily if you choose to move
mm,
or move it, right? So it's a job to be done. Now, and it's a whole methodology, but really quickly, going back into leadership, we need an output from our organization. We need to get 100,000 YouTube subscribers. We need to get 100,000 views on YouTube. Whatever that is, that's the output. We need our teams to go
mhm,
do that. Because with
mm,
AI now, it's not about the work. It's not about actually doing the actual work. It's about leading the work and getting the outcome we need. Right.
mm,
And that's what's shifting. So when I look at my employees, when I look at my staff, I'm looking to hire people that I could trust and empower to go get those jobs done. So that's the difference. And I have a budget, and that's what I'm going to pay for that specific outcome. Now,
mm,
if I'm swapping over from an hourly, I think the ethical thing to do would be to pay the same for that output because that's what the real value is because you've already determined that.
mhm,
That's what you've been paying for. Now, can you get more? Can you stretch it a little bit? Absolutely. And should you?
mm,
Absolutely as well. Right.
mm. Right. So let's talk about people that have figured out how to do their job in an hour or 45 minutes. If they were merely just transparent about that, then they could have that further conversation. Well, okay, we're okay that you're doing the results, so we're going to pay you the same. Or what, would you mind working 2 hours and get, twice as much?
Yeah.
There'd have to be some sort of negotiation to find a middle ground, or nobody could sustain their job if they're going to get paid 1/8 because it's still time. So that's very interesting. So how do people, and I agree. I mean, something's got to give. So the future for you believe we're just going to be training people on how to manage AI. Is that correct?
It's not really my opinion necessarily. That's everything I'm reading, and that's what everybody's saying is, yeah,
Mm,
that's what's coming. Right. So what my insight isn't that what's coming next. It's, well, all the busy work or the paperwork that we've been doing, and it's a repeatable task. AI in some form is going to be doing that. Now,
mm,
how we can't as leaders or business owners can't or don't want to or won't be doing all the work and training AI agents to that. We're still going to want a team, but those teams, one, same budget, you could get way more efficient and way more done. Two, your team could be leaner, right? Or
mm,
both, right? But
mm,
the people, by the way, that are, let's call them the manipulators, or the people that like the person I spoke to that's doing his full time job in an hour a day. Well, is his morality off? Maybe, maybe not, because his knows his employer is not gonna adapt and he's gonna get paid less. But he's also
mm,
entrepreneurial enough and smart enough and clever enough to to create those automations to have a better quality of life. So he's in many ways the perfect person, or not. There's parts that are great and parts that aren't, that you want to keep to build out all these different modalities within those teams. Now, maybe he's aligned with that and maybe he's not. But
Mm,
finding those people that are just patient enough, clever enough, and entrepreneurial enough, because each agent is kind of its own little mini ecosystem of creativity to get right and dial in. And you need to still monitor it and adapt it. It's not completely like a closed magic box that just produces everything yet,
mm,
right? So,
mm,
but what I'm really trying to bring up, and what I've been really been speaking about, is what is it going to take to compensate, to lead, and I don't mean like motivate, but like really, how do we literally the day to day management of that, where we're not tracking time,
mm,
we're literally tracking outputs and results. And how do you say, well, this result is because you're lazy or weren't good, or this result is because it was hard? Because a lot of times
mm,
it's hard to delineate. And what outcome do we need? And creating
mm.
constant outputs or results every week is way harder than just giving somebody a paycheck and expecting them to do some work and creating equality.
Right. Now, a lot of people just don't know what to do with AI. Let's face it. It's like, they're giving their teams like, here, go to ChatGPT and just figure out what. And I'm kind of like that. I'm figuring out, okay, we could do this on ChatGPT and we're figuring out tasks. But I think a lot of people were just kind of throwing mud at walls, especially because I don't have like a big corporate business, right?
Yeah.
So, what are some things people can do to just start getting into what you're talking about of the results based with their teams?
Yeah. Well, let me be clear, right? I don't necessarily think for large businesses, there's plenty of use cases to create automation. And is AI there yet? I don't know. Elon Musk's new AI was very impressive in what it's doing. And the new version of ChatGPT is coming out imminently, right? And is going to be wildly impressive with what it's going to be able to do. But agents in small, medium sized, 20-person or less companies, where and how you do those things and utilize it and creating full automation, you know, it's very custom examples of how you use it, right? I don't automate anything with AI. I use it daily
Mm,
to streamline a lot of the things I'm doing, and a lot of the things that were taking me hours to do now take me minutes, especially the content heavy things, and or things like image production or video production has gotten so much easier. Right. But that's my
mm,
point. It's not about fully replacing any one or any role yet. It's about making those a lot quicker. Now, what I'm
mm,
skipping is one step ahead, which is the next iteration or the iteration after that, which is imminent. And again, it could be in 3 months for your company, it could be in 3 years, but it will change, right? It will flip at some point.
mm.
I think that's pretty clear now because business is just going to move
Right,
too fast for it not to, right? So
right, right,
what I'm trying to provoke is, okay, it's not here yet, but it's coming, and it's coming very
for
quickly,
sure.
right?
Yeah. So we all need to not say, "Oh, I don't care about AI." Whether you care about it or not, it's here. I've heard people
Yeah.
say that, "Oh, I don't care about AI," and I'm thinking that just makes no difference about what's happening in the
No.
world, whether you care about it or not. It's here. So people need and they need to just look. And I'm the same as you. I'll use AI to make processes um, more streamlined, but not, we do not have agents
Yeah.
doing stuff for us yet.
No.
But yet, and some of the stuff we do, we will never be able to have AI doing it because people want to speak with me, Jean.
Yeah.
They don't want, they don't want a Hey Jean bot, which I'd love to get because I'm fascinated. So
But that's not
no,
what the
go on.
future is, and I don't want to necessarily have be the 150,000th person saying AI is here, needed to adapt, and this is what's coming. But
Mm,
from a leadership perspective, it's a conversation that isn't being had. That everybody's like either has this doomsday thing that we're scared, or we have this like we want to like it's going to be great and everybody's going to adapt and innovate. Well, this is the adapt and innovative. Like we're still going to have the same amount of employees, but we're going to be able to do more and get further and
mm,
create and elevate everybody to be a leader. And how do we lead our leaders and how do we empower their leadership? That because the way I look at AI now is let's come out of the weeds of what it's actually doing for us. Is what it's really doing is saying, hey, our employees now have a team, an army of minions to get their busy work tasks done, so they can think about the big strategic value of how to push things forward instead of getting bogged down in the weeds. An email that they needed to dial in that took them an hour is taking them 2 minutes, and it's perfect. That's the difference.
That's it. That is the value, the liberation from the tasks to big thinking things that move the company forward, where people, most people just doing a bunch of little tasks all day and they don't get to the meat of what will push things forward. Okay, so you asked the question, how? I'm going to ask you that question. How do we do that? Rob, how do people start? How do we chunk this off and start
Yeah.
working remotely better with our teams using AI? What do we do?
Yeah. So I think the first conversation to have is literally having an open and honest conversation. So our incentives are aligned with our employees, because again, you're creating a perverse, I believe right now, if you're creating a perverse incentive in an AI world to just be paying people by the hour, by time, because they're not motivated to necessarily be efficient. They're motivated to sit at their desk for 8 hours, right? But if we
Mm,
switch to, hey, let's have an honest conversation. What do we need done this week, this month, and this quarter? This is what we need to
mm,
produce. How do we support you producing that? How can you be as innovative as possible to do that? Right. And so, again, I'm asking these questions because they're not statements; they're questions to have with your employees. Now, a lot of people are going to look at me and go, "Rob, you crazy? My employees aren't capable of doing that." Well,
mm,
in order to make this switch, some employees are going to be able to step up, and some are not going to be able to step up to this being led this way. And if you want to go
mm,
this direction, I say if because it's not impure, it's not binary. You could do whatever you want. You've been a successful entrepreneur this far, right? But how do you, if you're going this way, empower people to do that? And they need to step up, and the right people will. And I think a lot of people have been hungry for more responsibility, more leadership, improving themselves, and those are the type of people that are going to be able to be compensated and say, okay, I'm making $10,000 a month. I'm more than happy with still making $10,000 a month, and maybe there's bonus structures with that, right? I'm thinking now,
mm,
everybody asks me, Rob, how do I compensate a co-founder? How do I compensate an employee in a startup?
mm,
Right? It's always there's like it's always equity and compensate and salary,
mhm,
but we never look at time, right? So whether it's a paid salary with
mm,
specific outcomes or milestones and bonuses, there's the compensation structure. We have the tools in place, but we just need to get
mhm.
away from tracking time, because that's going
Yes,
to be a
I
perverse
agree.
incentive. Perverse incentive.
Well, the thing is that, as you were speaking, I mean, there are a lot of people that are being paid for results, i.e., salespeople.
Yeah.
They've been paid for results for years.
Yep.
It's not there's no wage. It's how many sales, and you get a commission. So it's not a new concept,
No.
really.
No.
So it's really about getting that concept of results based, like for sales professionals. But a lot of people don't want that model
Right.
because they're worried that they won't get a wage. So I think part of the conversation has to be you're not going to be paid less, because immediately people are going to ask that question, Rob, am I going
Exactly.
to be paid less?
Right.
So I think the first thing has to be, okay, you're not going to be paid less. You will be paid the same amount of money if you produce the same amount, and then you're just working on your own time.
Right. Exactly. Right. And it's about structure. What makes sales really easy is there's a result that you need to hit every week, every month. And that
Yes.
result is very clear. What makes marketing or an operations person, it's hard. Again, the first thing I said, it's hard to create the specific outcome because it changes every week. Right. And it's a
Mm,
conversation, because in sales, it's close three people. In operations,
right.
it's, well, we need this done, this done, and this done.
It's still the same thing, because they could say, well, this week, on your hourly wage, this is what you're supposed to do. And it's really just about getting rid of the hourly wage thing. If you did everything that you just said and just said, there's no hourly wage anymore, it would be almost exactly the same. You're going to do everything you were
Yep.
doing, but there's no hourly wage.
Right.
You're getting paid when this job gets done. We know how long it should take. So then they're more motivated to get it done quicker and go to the beach.
Exactly. And more important, but more importantly, it's especially in corporate. we're tracking the people's mouses. We're tracking their eyeballs. We're making sure they're in front
Yes.
of the screen, especially when they're remote, right? And
Hmm.
that it's just it's debilitating, I think, for morale and everything else. And it's getting away from that, and it's not going to be it'll completely break. Is my point.
Right. No, actually, I know somebody actually, come to think of it, that works for a law firm.
Hmm.
And she was saying that during COVID, they had like, they're allowed now to still stay at home 2 days a week, I think it is, or three days a week. And they go in for two. And she said, oh, she goes, oh yeah. I mean, the days I'm at home, I can zip through that work much quicker. And they must know it. Okay. And I don't think she's producing less. She said, I'm still producing the same amount, but I can get through those tasks
Hmm.
and quicker. And I think it is based on getting the tasks done. So I don't think, even though she's getting a wage, I think they're fine with her if she gets the work done. So they kind of know she might be getting it done quicker.
Well, isn't that? I mean, yeah, but isn't that the whole point? Do we really? We just, as an employer for my whole life, I've had
Mm,
16 different companies. I
mm,
just need the work completed. I just need to get to the
done.
next level. I don't need
Mm,
anybody. I mean, I've had call centers and stuff like that where I physically need somebody
mm,
sitting in front of the phone. But other than
yes.
that, I don't care. I just need it completed, right?
Right.
I just
Yeah.
need to service the client and service the company. That's what we need to do,
Yeah.
right? And perform.
Okay. So with your companies now, do
Mhm.
you have this kind of model? Have you changed to this model yourself?
Absolutely, always. Yeah. I mean, I've had this model for years now where I'm always looking at my partners to really get they're really either on salary or there's on some sort of salary compensation, and we have weeklies or dailies to determine exactly what we need to get done as a team
Right.
and
And
as a company.
you don't care how long they're taking. You
Why?
never ask like how many hours, right? Who cares? Now, interesting, Rob, you've had 16 companies. Now,
Hmm.
Rob, it's interesting, people that are listening. Rob and I met years ago when
Yeah.
we were both in New York. He didn't
Mhm.
remember me. Rob, how could you not remember me? And Rob was running a wine company, I think, at that wine shop, was
Yeah.
it?
I started alcohol delivery in the United States. So I think we met at a happy hour with 300
Hmm.
people. And I was doing one of those every day of the week for probably that whole year. So I met a few tens of thousands of people. So I
Right.
apologize.
Yes. No, no problem. I just thought it
Hmm.
funny. I thought I've
Yeah.
met you. So you've had what got you to what you're doing now with the whole AI thing? Because you've been through so many companies. What got you here? Is it because it's the future?
I mean, well, it's what's here right now. We are actually doing something called. So when I've lived all across the globe, and one of my companies was called MyQuest. So we are a learning management software system, an LMS. Like if you want to learn anything online, you've probably taken an online course before. We used neuroscience and behavioral science in 2015 to make sure you could complete your course and actually learn something.
Mm,
That morphed into what was called enterprise knowledge management, an enterprise knowledge management system. So going into a big company like a Fortune 5 or a Fortune 50 and being able to go on Slack or Microsoft Teams, who we partnered with, was, hey, I have a question around my employee handbook, or I need help
mm,
of how to speak to this client in a specific way. And the AI would be able to answer you with custom knowledge based upon
mm,
your industry's wiki or industry's your actually excuse me not industry your actual employer's internal knowledge, right? And we had a
mm,
whole way of populating that knowledge and getting it out of the 20 to 100,000 employees. Now in 2018, that
mm,
was pretty revolutionary. Now what I'm describing is, well, it's just a GPT, right? And that's,
mm.
and that's just the way you do it. So I've been working with and thinking about AI on a very practical level for, I guess, 7 years now. So these conversations are conversations that I've been having. They're just very relevant right now.
Mm. Okay, Rob, what's something you want to leave everybody with as far as a philosophy or a mindset?
Yeah, it's kind of related to what we've been talking about, but I think about it like this: be purposeful, be vulnerable, and make a difference.
I love it.
That's it.
Short, sweet, and to the point.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Rob. Thank you if you're listening, and if you liked this, be good if you wrote a review or subscribed or both. And we will see you on the next episode. You're listening to the Business Wealth Impact Podcast, your source for empowering information and cutting-edge ideas from the world's top minds. I'm your host, Jeanne Amlour, founder of seven-figure coaching company, Jeanne Amlour International. Join me on a journey to unleash your potential and create your highest success. Welcome to Business Wealth Impact.